Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Rival Banter. I'm one of your hosts, Luke Croft. Joining me, as always, my esteemed co host and the Butcher of Martinsville, ladies and gentlemen, Seth Martin.
Bleh. It's my vampire noise.
well, so we just got done watching that Ed Gein show on Netflix. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yeah.
And he's the Butcher of Plainfield. So uh,
Okay.
I gotta say, though, I was pretty disappointed by the show. Uh,
Which is that the Lee Hunnam or what his name is, or is that? I feel like those shows are a dime a dozen right now. Like every network, every streaming service has
is that the
one of
one
those
that?
shows for the same guy.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. You were asking if it was what show?
Charlie Hunnam, the or something like that. He's the
Yeah,
guy from like Sons of Anarchy and all.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And I think he did a pretty good job in his role. And it has like uh Metcalf in it. What's her first name? Is it Laura Metcalf? She's in it. She's good.
So,
From
something like
Roseanne
that, yeah.
back in the day. And then
Yeah.
uh and I thought the performances were good, and if it wasn't like a real life story, I think they would have done fine, but they just made up a lot of shit. You know me. I like true crime stuff, and but I like stuff that kind of pays respect to the victims. But they like made up a romantic relationship between Ed Gein and one of his victims in the show, and kind of
Mm.
maybe made up a second relationship that he had with somebody who wasn't a victim but was apparently close to him. I don't know, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But it was okay.
Okay. I won't be watching it, but whatever.
I did start the Chair Company though. Have you started
I
watching
need
that?
to. No, it's on my list. I just, it's a time thing for me. I want to. I've been wrapping some other stuff up. Like I just finished Peacemaker, and something else. And so, yeah, I'm ready to start that. It's just a matter of getting there.
Yeah. Are you like a scary movie guy in October? I know we used to get together and
If I had more people to watch, like if you guys were still living in this town and like we would get together and do it, yeah, for sure. I used to love horror movies. I took classes on like the literature of horror and horror films in college and like loved it. It's just one of those things. I think the maybe I'm just getting older. The world's freaky enough
mm,
as it is,
yeah.
and so I don't. I'm just never like in the mindset. I got Silent Hill 2, the remake for Christmas last year, haven't even popped it in the disk drive yet. Just because 'cause I'm, like, never in the mood for something freaky and scary, but I love the stuff, like, just, you know, theoretically, mentally, I love it from, like, a critical point of view, but just getting in the vibe, the mindset to watch, I just haven't got there for a while.
Yeah, no, I get that. The world is a horror show in and of itself. So, uh,
The world is a vampire.
but I'm kind of always like into something spooky. If it's not a scary podcast, it's some sort of scary show or movie. I have a short list of stuff I want to watch. Over the next week or so. I've never seen Psycho, and part of the Ed Gein show was kind of about Psycho, and
Oh.
the I I think I've seen like The Birds, but that's probably the only Alfred Hitchcock movie I've seen. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, interested in watching Psycho, and then they just added Weapons to HBO Max, and everybody I work with is
Okay,
like, it's the best horror movie I've seen in the last 10 years. So, definitely gonna
okay.
watch that one.
I can get down with that. Did you fart, cat?
Maybe we just watch it in the hotel room in Atlanta this weekend
Atlanta,
because
hell yeah, baby.
because your boys Seth and Luke are going to DreamHack Atlanta to check out the Marvel Ignite Grand Finals on Saturday and Sunday. So, on the off chance that anybody listening to this show is there, if you see Seth or I, come up and say hi. That'd be cool. But yeah, Seth, I'm excited. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm super pumped. I was like giddy this morning. I was like rubbing it into my friends because like our high school band is going to be in Atlanta the same weekend doing like a competition or whatever. And I was like messaging the theater teacher who's also he's like chaperoning the trip. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm going to be as far away from these high school students as I can be, because
What
I
if
do
they're all
not that I'm
staying in
gonna
the
be.
same hotel as us?
That's what I was worried about, but I think it's not. I think they're a little farther away, so I was just like, I don't wanna be, like, walking down the block to, what is it, World Convention Center or something like that? Whatever it
Mm.
is, like the area, the plaza where we're gonna be. I don't wanna be like walking and just see 100 students from my school and, me just be trying to relax and live my life. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped to get out. And it kind of killed my yet, but so the yesterday morning I get in my car and pop it in reverse. I'm heading to work, and as I'm pulling out of the driveway, every single light, like every problem light goes off in my car, and I'm like, "What?" And so I like pull, turn around, come back in my driveway. Thankfully Bridget hadn't left to take the kids to school yet, so she took me to my school, and we dropped the car off later today. I get a call. I'm hoping it's just the battery, because I don't think I've replaced the battery in this car yet, but they're like, no, battery is good. You have a buttload of other problems in this car. So it's going to cost some money. It's not covered in my extended warranty that I purchased when I bought the car, which sucks. And um, hopefully, I'm gonna have the car back Thursday or Friday. They had to order a part, blah blah blah. If they don't, I'm either gonna be borrowing like one of my parents' cars, or I'm just gonna like shell out and fly, and I'll meet you in Atlanta. So we'll we'll figure it out. At this point, I'm almost like, well, flying. I mean, it's gonna be more expensive, but it's gonna be, I guess, quicker. Because if I drive to meet you at your house and then gonna be like 6, 7 hours. And, internet joke there. Yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not planning on flying right now. Hopefully, I'll have that car back and everything's fine.
Yeah, I hope so too, because I'm ready for this 3.5 hour road trip with the boys, and by the boys I mean you. Uh,
With a boy.
yes,
A
yes.
a boy.
This will be my first time going to DreamHack, which I feel like there was something I was supposed to go to, either DreamHack Atlanta or I think there's another one in Dallas when I was at GG, but never got the chance to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, there
This is
is.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger esports things, like fighting game tournaments that I haven't been to. Uh, so yeah, I'm pretty excited to go. Are there any other games other than Rivals you're wanting to check out? You want to go to that GeoGuessr uh, final?
Yeah, I'm still kind of like perusing the events. I mean, I didn't realize what it was. I thought that like when we got it's like even after I bought the tickets yesterday, I just had in my mind, like I've been to a couple of esports events, like the Apex Legends
Hmm.
Global Series. I've been to COD League Major, and almost a Halo a couple weeks ago, but we won't go there. So I'm really pumped, but I was thinking that it was just going to be like a singular event, and I'm actually kind of more pumped that it's like a huge 3-day festival. Like it's just there's so much other stuff going on. Apparently there are panels and panelists
Hmm.
presenting. There's a whole cosplay section. I won't be dressing up, but I'll be checking out the scene. Like I'm just kind of pumped to walk around and explore kind of like between matches, or in the lead up to some or whatever. And there are going to be tournaments going on, like people, just what is it, BYOC, bring your own computer.
Hmm.
I'm pumped. I'm pretty excited for the whole experience. It's just getting there that I'm dreading right now, at least like the long drive, not even the drive Saturday, but the one coming home Sunday late
Hmm.
at night down the mountains. But whatever, 6 7.
Yeah, I think DreamHack is maybe one of the more like interesting esports events because of what you were talking about. It's a convention and an esport event kind of all rolled up into one. Um, but also the idea of like, hey, bring your own computer, and they have huge tournaments. I mean, there's like a 516 entrant like NCAA football tournament going on that weekend. The GeoGuessr tournament. There's a bunch of fighting games that are going to be there too. Like, uh, DreamHack, I think, is one of the more scalable esports events because it kind of couples along with everything else. And I think that makes it smart for like rivals to be a part of it, because you have these games that come out and they want to make a huge splash and have their own like endemic esports events like like Halo, like COD League, like Overwatch League. But the problem is there's just so much expense that's tied to that, right? Like you're having to rent out an entire fucking, arena or whatever. And then you're just relying on the pool of your title to bring people to the city to come and watch you. I think this is just such a smarter way to do it. Like we're going to put an ass load of money up for the prize pool, but we're also going to tie ourselves to an existing event that people are going to be at. And even if they're not there specifically for rivals, maybe they, come by, watch a game or two, and get into what we're doing over here as well. So, uh, I'm excited for the event. I'm also excited because I might see some people I know, um, working in esports and being at the event. So that'll be cool too. But
Okay,
also,
hell yeah.
our first overnight trip together, Seth. We were
As
talking about
men, yeah, or boys.
or boys, yeah.
We said it last night while we were playing, like mid game. I don't think somehow in high school, I guess maybe where we didn't start really hanging out until later on in our careers or whatever. But we just, I think we weren't like in the sleepover stage of things anymore. You weren't really on the party scene at that phase of
Hmm.
life, where you would have spent like a lot of late nights out, I feel like. So yeah, I'm kind of excited. Not that we're necessarily going to be out all night or anything, but we're out doing something unusual for us. So I'm pretty stoked on that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, all right. Well, this is Rival Banter. We get together every week and talk about all things Marvel Rivals, then push it out to you on podcast services everywhere and on YouTube. Just search up Rival Banter. If you want, you can also follow us on social media on Instagram and TikTok at Rival Banter. And wherever you're watching us, first of all, thank you. Second of all, make sure you're following us. And third of all, leave a like and a comment on whatever you're listening to. And we might read and respond to your comments like we're going to read and respond to these comments here. The first one comes from McKay Ransom, who says, I want to hear your thoughts on Daredevil. When I'm playing support, he definitely feels OP. Doesn't bother me when playing Emma, though. A good Daredevil can 1v2 the backline very consistently, even versus Jeff and Cloak and Dagger. And then they added, also, your toxicity story doesn't sound that bad. If they think you're a woman, you will hear the most vulgar, sexist things imaginable. And look, I will say this, Seth, we are lucky, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I read your show notes earlier. I was like, I probably am. I was speaking from like just a cis male privilege standpoint. So yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not going to fight that one bit.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
yeah, I can't imagine being a woman or anybody other than a straight white man. It's really hard to do. And so, yeah, I feel for you. I feel for pretty much anybody that's not me. That sounds, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what made that point that the Reddit person wrote about the voice changing stuff so interesting to me last week. Is like, again, I'm like you. I'm a cis white man, grew up in the American South. Like I have literally had like no friction caused by the way that I exist. And so it's always eye opening, even with like small things like the voice changer thing to show just how often people have to consider not just what they're doing, but who they are when they step into these places. And so there's certainly levels to this shit, and there are levels of it that we'll never experience ourselves, Seth. And so appreciate the comment, kind of putting that stuff into perspective, because I've definitely played with women who have been on the receiving end of those kinds of things. But yeah, I'm sure having to deal with that every time you log on is absolutely fucking nightmarish.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I do want to contend though. I think none of that changes the fact that this person was a straight up asshole.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm still gonna stick to that. But was it terrible? No, it was just terrible. I guess for me, from my limited experience so far.
Yeah. But let's jump over to the other part of their question, which is about Daredevil. And I just realized with our little brief hiatus, we didn't really get a whole lot of time to talk about Daredevil after he was put into the game. And so, Seth, how much have you even played Daredevil, and what are your kind of initial thoughts?
I've really just played around with him a little bit in the practice range, and he seems fun as hell, and he seems fun as hell because he's cracked as hell, um,
Mhm.
and so Yeah, I have a hard time going up against him. He's one of my first bans whenever we're playing comp matches. I want him out of there as quickly as possible. I think in some ways he might even be worse than like a BP, a Black Panther, or anybody like that. He's just got so much going for him, and he's so hard to get rid of that. Yeah, I've got to get him off the field whenever I can.
Yeah, we kind of permaban him and Groot when we're playing because we just hate dealing with him for the reason exactly that McKay puts right here, which is that in the back line, he's so hard to deal with. But I think what makes Daredevil unique, I was looking at, I think it was a post on Reddit about the highest win rates right now in high elo. And I think Daredevil's like the second or third highest DPS win rate at like 55%. And I think a big reason for that is, and maybe I'm not thinking of somebody, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Seth, but there's just not many DPS characters that are true brawlers in the sense that they can kind of face check you without being punished, right? Is there somebody that I'm missing? Like, like Iron Fist, Magic, BP, like all of them have to rely on kind of getting flank angles and making sure that they can get to you unscathed in order to do all their damage. But Daredevil can like run at you with reckless abandon face on, and he's got tools to close the gap, and he's got his deflect and all that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Mr. Fantastic to a degree. That
That's a
might
good
sound
point. Yeah.
wild, but like maybe like how he can kind of leap. He's got that thing kind of ability where he can grab on and leap to
Yeah.
somebody in the back line or whatever to escape if he needs to. But it's not the same. I think Daredevil's got that and then some that he brings to the table.
Yeah, that's a good point about Mr. Fantastic, though. I think that's a good call out because he does kind of have that same sort of tool, but I think the big difference is just the speed with which they're able to kind of level out threats. You have the big like wind sail like muscular pose that Mr. Fantastic does to block damage, but when you're in that, you can't do anything else. It lasts for a little while before you can kind of do any kind of other action. Whereas like Daredevil has like an instant deflect that deflects literally everything. You can deflect like Wanda ult with that shit. And he also has his little chain thing that he can throw out and pull himself to you and just close the gap real quick. So yeah, I think a big reason that it's so hard to deal with in the back line is just he can out damage your healing and he certainly can out damage you. But yeah,
Hmm.
he's a terror when he's running at you. But I think the whole point about like Emma, uh, first of all, she's just tankier, and I think better able to deal with kind of his burst, but also having the CC with the choke slam and sort of the damage mitigation with diamond form and I think that sort of stuff makes it a little bit easier. And plus, if Daredevil's spending a lot of time in Emma's face, he's not really doing what he should be doing, which is like pushing past to the back line.
Hmm.
Um, all that being said, I haven't even played Daredevil. I've had to
Not
play it
even in like
again.
practice range or something like that. You just
I've gone
just
into
playing
like
against him.
I've gone into the practice range with him, but I haven't played a game with him. So yeah, all of that is just based off of playing against him, which is really frustrating when you have a good one. Also, I was talking to Larry about this. His ult makes no sense. Like he's got this psychic ability. He might have said this when we were playing last night. Like he's got that psychic ability that just damages everybody within an area of effect of him. It's like, when did Daredevil get this?
Yeah, there might be some deep cut lore or something like that that explains that. I don't know. It's probably just one of those things. It's best not to think about too much. You gotta make do with if you're gonna have a big roster like this. But I think it was one of the points somebody else brought up here in just a little bit, right? Something about yeah, we'll get there.
All right. Let's move on to our next comment from Aiden Heat. You want to take this one for us, Seth?
Yes, Aiden Heat says, "Where'd you go?" I don't know how y'all do it anymore. I was Grandmaster. This is the one I was thinking about. Yeah, from season 0 through 3, 0, and ever since I can't make it back. This community is the most toxic I know, and I played the early Call of Duty, so that says a lot. I feel you there. And NetEase does nothing about it. It is so obvious that all they care about is money, a new battle pass every 30 days, and then your rank resets. Are people this blind? They try and mask it by saying it's unique to constantly add a new character. Nothing unique about it, just a money grab. I think that's where you kind of start to lose me, Aiden Heat, a little bit. Um, is it 30 days every battle
It's
pass?
every 60 days. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, 60. We get the season reset every 30 days. But yeah, that's only the halfway point. So I mean that's I feel like is a little bit unfair to call that out. But I mean I get the idea. I think we've had the argument before too, right? That we you don't have to buy the battle pass, and I mean the only thing that stuff's there for. They have a ton of stuff that you get for free, but there is some cosmetic stuff that's locked behind that paywall. But again, it's just cosmetic stuff, and I don't really know that that's enough to kind of make me upset. Um, what do you think about all that?
Well, to start, I appreciate the sentiment about the toxic community stuff. I think it's true. I
Hmm.
think, um, I do think NetEase has tried different things. I mean, we talked about the voice changer stuff. They've added more comm options and stuff like that. They've added, more detailed reporting, the voice monitoring system that they put in place, I think, at the beginning of season 4. So they're trying to do some stuff, but there's just a level to it that at the end of the day, it's human nature, and there's only so much people can do. But as far as like the money grab stuff is concerned, I think I agree with you in the sense that like I think they provide a lot of value for the money that they're giving, right? But I do think that there is a level of kind of design choice here with the frequency that they're putting updates out that does have a detrimental impact to the quality of the game in exchange for like constant content being able to come out. And I think this is where the team up feature kind of it's such a cool feature that sets the hero this apart from other hero shooters, but when it comes to updating your game, it requires so much more forethought where it feels like sometimes they're responding to metas a couple patches prior to the actual patch that the actual prior to the meta that they're actually trying to patch against. And I think because of that, uh, you get some weird choices as to like who's getting nerfed and who's getting buffed because they're having to work ahead to get team up designs and new characters in the game without understanding fully how those things are going to impact the meta. So I don't know. I totally relate to just getting to a point with a game where you're like, I just can't anymore. But I'm certainly not there with this game, and I think that they handle a lot of these things better than a lot of other companies do. I mean, I played Overwatch when we didn't get content for like 18 months, so I'd rather have this than
Yeah,
that.
that's the thing. I think, and Larry's brought up the point. I think Larry, when he was on the show, said something along the lines of like, we were actually pretty spoiled by this game in a lot of ways. Is a perfect no, but I mean, the amount of free stuff that we do get, and some of those skins are all out bangers. Like they're just awesome. Um, but I guess it depends on who you play. You're never gonna please everybody, but I think this game overall has done a great job of trying to keep people at least engaged, if nothing else.
For sure. Next comment is from Jay over on TikTok, who says rivals would be instantly better. Sorry, rivals would instantly be better if they added a paladin style card deck loadout to characters, make so many throw picks more viable. Now, have you played paladin, Seth?
No.
I feel like I
No,
might have
it
tried
was
paladin. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think that I played, like, one time, one day or something like that, and it didn't really scratch my itch. That was a free to play one, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think I played it
Alright,
on
one of
Switch
those.
before Overwatch came out on Switch, just to have something Overwatch esque to play on the go. Um, and so I don't quite remember how Paladins does the card deck thing. Is it per game you can kind of you kind of roll through a deck and pick your stuff, or is it uh
I I don't really remember. I think I spent, like, one night with that game, and really grabbed me, but I do know that it did scratch that itch for a lot of people, kinda like you mentioned, so, maybe there could be something to that. Maybe there's an offshoot mode possibility there, like, something else that we could do later on. I don't know that I would want to see the game based on what I'm kind of like guesstimating from all that. I don't know if that's really what I want to see in the overall mainline gameplay, but I'm down to try just about anything. This game's already pretty much Overwatch in a lot of ways, so why not make it Paladins too?
Well, and you've got the Overwatch arena thing now where, you kind of build your character as the game goes on and select different abilities. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and so I don't know. I think something like that could be cool and make more characters viable against different things. And I think this sort of a design also covers over the multitude of sins that is rock, paper, scissors when it comes to your compositions, right? Where I don't necessarily lose a matchup because I have, you know, um, picked the wrong character into the wrong character, giving myself different paths to chase based off of what the other team's running. I think could be really cool. Now, how do you balance that against the ability to like freely switch your characters? Because in arena in Overwatch, you select your character and you have to play them the whole match, right? So, not sure
Yes.
exactly how that works in Paladins, but yeah, I'd be down for more freedom on how to build my characters as we play a game.
Could be cool.
Then Thomas Cryer was responding about Marvel Zombies, and we'll give a full review of that here in just a little bit. And says it's also really fun because of the roguelike elements, providing a different experience gameplay loop for people who don't like FPS. Thoughts on that, Seth?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes along with one of the stories we'll talk about later, but I think there's a big reason that this mode has kind of caused a big resurgence in the player base. A lot of people have kind of tuned back in for this, and I think that's a big part of it. It's just kind of fun to play and kind of easy to jump into. Those later modes are a little harder to really get into, which I'm sure we'll talk about some more here too. But just kind of at face value, kind of like piquing people's curiosity. I do think there was a lot of potential for a mode like this, and I'm excited to see them play around with it. I don't know that this is like my perfect iteration of what it's not what I thought the game mode was going to be, but, yeah, I do agree that there is kind of an addictive quality to it just with, like, building your character, not really knowing what you're gonna get as you go in and that kinda thing, so, yeah, for sure.
And then Ant Beneviento, you want to read this one for us there, Seth?
For sure. Ant says, "It feels like they're really trying to avoid being Fortnite adjacent and relying on collabs for relevance." I'm guessing this is kinda based on what we talked about last week or whenever that was. They promote original skins infinitely more than movies show ones. I don't know if I have the data to back that one up. I feel like we're kind of limited on the amount of um, movie or show like the MCU crossovers. Marvel Studios is I think how they label it in the in-game shop. But yeah, I do like I can name way more of the original skins or like the comic based variants than I can the Marvel Studios skins for sure. So I don't know if it's necessarily a marketing thing or if they just haven't done as much of it. But yeah, I kind of get what you're going for there, and I think there's something to that. Like kind of like we mentioned, I think last week, and if not, I know we've talked about it before. Kind of like Fortnite does that really well. Those collabs just fit in there. It's kind of a goofy, cartoony universe anyway. They kind of have this lore built around this multiverse that kind of connects all these um, different universes together from all kinds of different media, and that works well for Fortnite. But I don't feel like it works as well in Call of Duty, right? Which is a
Yeah.
totally different vibe, totally different universe. I don't know if they've tried to develop a lore that explains that, but lore doesn't necessarily fix everything. I think that's way more of a vibes thing. I personally just have no interest in running around as like Muad'Dib from Dune, in my, like, or one of the Harkonnens or whatever,
Or Nicki
just
Minaj, I believe
or
was.
Nicki Minaj or
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, I think. Didn't they do
Yeah.
Snoop
Yeah,
Dogg
I think
too?
so.
I mean, some of them make more sense than others, but, like, yeah, I don't it doesn't really appeal to me in the same way that goofy and easy to do it there. Call of Duty is a much more it's supposed to be a realistic, kinda gritty shooter, and those collabs, those skins just kinda destroy that image for me in a lot of ways. I still enjoy watching the game, still enjoy playing it, but yeah, that definitely detracts some for me.
Yeah, I think there comes a point where your universe is so established that any kind of lore to explain those just becomes a retcon more than like world building, you know. And I think Call of Duty's in that place where, you know, you started off as this kind of grounded, gritty, historical shooter back in the day, moved into modern warfare, but still pretty grounded. And I know that they, you know, especially in like the kind of later Black Ops era, started to go for, you know, more futuristic sort of things. But I think at no point does that open itself up to the kinds of collabs that we're talking about. So it doesn't fit. But you know, Fortnite has the luxury of just being able to kind of magically pull from anywhere in the world, right? And everybody wants to work with Fortnite, wants a skin in Fortnite. It's the only place where you can be playing as Wednesday Adams and Mr. Beast on the same map. I get that. I think what Marvel is doing is tighter, right? They don't have as much bandwidth to kind of pursue these collaborations because they've already talked about how there's so much to explore in Marvel already, you know. So why would they need to go beyond that in order to build their roster out? And I think they also do good collabs quietly, right? Like and these are smaller collabs than like getting Mr. Beast in your game, but I think like one of the penny skins was designed by like a pretty popular artist. I think there's like been lines of skins that have been designed by pretty popular artists. So, you know, they're collabing with people that are making an impact on the creative direction of the game more so than collabing with people that help them reach a new audience.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds familiar now that you mention it. I don't recall it off the top of my head, but I do really like the idea of that kind of stuff, and I think that I could open it up to design some more characters from some more maybe popular artists too. Like I'd kind of like to see where that goes. Maybe make them not like premier super pricey skins, but just kind of like a way maybe to like generate some money for artists in like this post AI age, right? Where we're kind of struggling with a lot of those issues. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Well, and I think one of the other thing, like what makes comics such a cool medium is the fact that there are these expansive universes that have the hands of many, many, many people in them. Like how many writers has Spider-Man had? How many artists has Spider-Man had? You know, infinite probably. You know, hard to count probably, but that's what makes comic books unique is you have all these different creative hands giving their takes on them. And so yeah, if they can bring that more into the game itself, I think that could be really cool.
I really like that. There's a lot of potential there for sure.
All right, well, thanks everybody for your comments. If you want your comments read, make sure wherever you're listening to this, drop your comment. And I will keep saying this: if you comment on the full episode on YouTube or on Spotify, much better chance of having your comment selected than on the other platforms. So, all right, Seth, let's move on and talk about our weekend rivals. And let's start with what everybody's talking about: the Marvel Zombies mode. We are in Nightmare 2, right? That's the level that we're on.
hmm
Uh how have you been liking it so far?
You know, I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than I thought I was. But that being said, kind of like we mentioned before, it's not the game that I expected it was going to be at all. I was just kind of expecting a traditional like Left 4 Dead, but with Marvel Rivals characters, or something between that and Junkenstein's Revenge or whatever. The fact that it does like, I mean, it gets book wild ass insane, especially as you start climbing into those higher tier lobbies. There's just a maddening amount of ads that are coming at you. Those boss fights are like they defied the rules. You've made the comment numerous times, like I don't understand. There's no way this game runs on PS4 because there's just so much happening.
Yeah, if you
Everybody's ulting
yeah, if,
every 2 seconds, if that. I mean, you're constantly healing yourself while dealing damage to numerous people at the same time. It's insane. Like you eventually reach a point where like you can't even hear your ult line anymore because you're just popping it off so fast that there's no time to vocalize it. It's insane. It's fun as hell, but there is kind of an element to it that's almost like not fun. I'm sure you can probably speak to a little bit more than I can. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm having fun with it now that I've kind of understood. Now that I kind of understand what it is, because I think I was like you. I was coming in with a little different expectations for what it is. You know, if it was going to be something like a Left for Dead or something like that. Uh, I was also hoping it would maybe have a little bit more in terms of like almost feel like a mini raid, like a mini Destiny raid or something like that, where you're having to figure out the mechanics of the fights a little bit more, rather than just kind of going in, stat boosting yourself, and hoping you can just out damage whatever it is that's about to face you. So I was hoping for a little bit more of that. You don't really get any of that, right? Like everything is just bullet sponges and big swarms of enemies coming at you. And I think its heavy reliance on RNG with the like kind of roguelike mechanic that it has means that sometimes you just have runs that don't feel as good as the last run that you just had. And that's part of the design, right? You're chasing that high of like, oh, I did 40 million damage on Blade or whatever this last round. But I think you invest so much time into a run that it starts to feel bad in those higher, because I mean those the matches we've been playing in Nightmare 2 have been like 35, 40 minutes long, you know? Um,
Yeah, and that was just we didn't even finish Nightmare 2. The one round we played, I think
yeah,
we made it like 40 minutes in. We were on round 10, I want to say. The first round where you fight Wanda or whatever.
yeah.
And they get heartbreaking, like because again, there's like nothing you can do for some of those times, or at least if there is, we haven't figured it out quite yet. It just seems like impossible. Like, how do you? It's kind of defeating in some ways, which I guess that's the point. Like, that's the whole thing with the zombie horde. It's like, what do you do? But I don't feel as much like it's insurmountable odds against like numerous enemies. It's kind of I think it feels not quite as good because you're not really. It's not the numbers that are defeating you. It's the what is it? It's the I don't know
I think it's
the
just you don't
frequency of
Y yeah, it's that, but you also I just don't feel like you feel like you have a lot of agency over your success in the end there. Like you can get trapped in like an endless chain of getting stunned by her bubbles or something like that, or trapped in an endless chain of spawning and dying into her bursts, and like that's not fun if I'm just constantly being sent back to the death screen without like any ability to control whether or not I live or die. And I think that's one of the big reasons that I struggle with the mode is like when you fail, you don't often know why you failed. And it's not like a puzzle that you're trying to figure out, like, oh, you need to jump to this platform at this time and I need to be here, like a Destiny raid would. It's just, hey, we didn't outscale the Wanda for this fight.
yeah. I was pleased when I figured out the Wanda boss fight. It just in the low ranks when and it stays the same as far as I know throughout, but like when she's got that final ult phase where
Yeah.
she's charging her ult, you have to destroy the crystals. That's the kind of stuff that I was kind of hoping for, like a little bit more of that, kind of those raid elements. The bullets, I'm fine with some bullet sponge phases or some stuff like that. But when you've got 15,000 different health bars,
Yeah.
literally, it's about as spongy as you get. And there's really just that one mechanic to that one boss fight. Not nothing like that really with Namor in his kind of earlier boss fight. So I don't know. I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. But again, this is just a round one first time thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring it back in a year or maybe like for another holiday. I feel like you can put zombies with other holidays than
Easter.
Halloween, maybe Easter. Yeah, that's what I was going for reasons. But yeah, I think there's potential there. I would like to see the mode kind of change and evolve a little bit. I definitely don't want the same bosses, the same exact mechanic going on. I think there's cool stuff there, but I don't really want to see it stay the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'd also be cool to have like you have it, when you get to the higher levels of it, you have the different kinds of zombies, the poison zombies, the exploding zombies, the crawling zombies. I think it would be cool if you could have different people with different builds built to counter those kinds of things, like, oh, this upgrade to Thor gives you you know a bubble shield that'll cleanse you if you run through it or something like that. Like your teammates can run through it and cleanse from being poisoned. Uh, like mechanics like that to kind of play into these new enemies that they're giving us, I think could be cool too.
Hmm.
Um, well, Seth, you mentioned this mode coming back potentially. And so I think that's a good segue for us into the draft for this week, which is 5 characters we want to add to. I meant to put Marvel Zombies, not Rivals. There, my bad.
Okay, okay, that changes
Yep.
things a little bit,
I'm
but
sorry.
yeah.
You probably prepped for that. You might have prepped for that
No, no,
question or at
no.
least thought about it. But yeah, it's supposed to be for Marvel
I
Zombies.
promise you I didn't. It it
Okay.
it it just briefly crossed my mind. So, yeah, it doesn't change that much.
So yeah, we're drafting characters that exist in Marvel Rivals that are not a part of Marvel Zombies right now. So 5 characters that you want to add if you want to give a little, you know, explanation on how you think they might be tweaked for the mode. That'd be cool too. Seth, do you want me to go first so that you have some time to think, or do you have your number one ready to rip?
I've got my number one, but I went first last week, so I do think that you should go first today.
All right. I think I want to see Doctor Strange added into the mode. Thor
Hmm.
doesn't do a whole lot for me as a tank. I would like another
Hmm.
tank option in this mode, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff that you could do with Strange. Number one, all map Mama Coco, please. How awesome would it be to just see 100 zombies with their spirits cast out of them from the Eye of Agamotto? The second thing, increasingly large teleport portals that you can put in front of spawn doors for the zombies that will carry them off of the map. So that's my
Hmm.
number one pick is Doctor Strange.
I like that a lot. I've actually changed my number one while you were speaking, and I haven't thought it all the way through so far. But just this one thing changes the game for me. I'm gonna go Penny Parker, Penny S. Parker, for my number one, just because of those mines. Can you imagine just having a cracked mine generator? And just seeing those things fly all over the place. They're going to look like particles, like grains of sand flying in the wind like a hurricaney beach day, like just going everywhere, tracking all over the place. I feel like it would be madness, and it probably feel pretty good to just kind of get that constant notification of like on your kill feed. So yeah, I like that a lot.
I think there's some interesting things you could do with Penny too. She was on my list too, so I thought about a couple where it's like maybe you take her web ability and give it different options. You know how you can select the different like cooldowns in your in the feed, but like in this build, everybody who's standing on a Penny web gets healed, not just Penny. Or hey, when zombies
Mm.
run over this thing, they catch on fire as well and take increased damage or something like that. Like I think there's a lot of really interesting things you could do with Penny. Um, I think for my second pick, I'm gonna go Loki, and I'm just gonna say that because of infinite duplicates. You know, let me scale the number of what are they called? Like his clones. That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. Uh, like let him scale the number of his clones that he can put out on the map, so that you can just have a bunch of Lokis dealing damage or dealing healing to your team, and you kind of pick your build based off of whether or not you want to do damage or whether you want to be able to kind of keep your teammates up.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely get that too. Um, Number two.
Yeah, who's your second pick?
I am torn, but kind of the same thing, and it's going to complement. I'm sure you can imagine where it's going. It's going to complement my number one. I want Rocket,
Nice.
just because between for a couple of reasons. The penny pairing, like if you could kind of transfer that over, I think that would, I mean, just be redonkulous, just to kind of like double the amount of mines and and fields that are going around between the healing function, kind of like you and anything else Like that's just going to be buck wild. And then, if nothing else, like the res, the BRB function, if you can use
Mm,
that in some way, to be able to kind of, I mean, maybe that's making things a little bit too easy or removing a level of challenge, but I mean, as hard as the mode is, I feel like there's room enough to be able to build that in. And I mean, maybe that makes up for some of the damage that Rocket doesn't do, um, with his like minigun. But what do I know? Yeah, Rocket's my number two.
what if they made it to where if you're attached to his ult, his CYA, that you can, when zombies pass through the tether, it does damage to them too. So there's maybe a strategy where you spread apart to get maximum coverage off that thing. Put me on the design team for Marvel Zombies, NetEase. I'm ready. I'm so ready. My third pick,
You got this. You're crushing it.
my third pick, I'm probably going to steal one of yours right here, but I'm going to say Squirrel Girl. I think infinite scaling damage, making her, ultimate ability is like super wide, or she calls out multiple gangs of squirrels to follow her. I think there's a lot of interesting things you could do with her trap. And also her mobility, I think, would make her pretty interesting too, to be able to kind of run away from characters and stuff like that.
All right, so number three for me, I'm going to go Slock, mainly on the grounds that she's got a lot of the same potential, I think, as your blade or your magic, maybe even more so than magic. I kind of feel like she's a good fit, in a lot of ways. There, she's got an ult that covers a lot of ground, and so if you're constantly popping that off, I mean, you're gonna blow through some ads, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So, me, Psylocke's my number three.
I think my number four is going to be Cloak and Dagger. Think there's just a lot of potential with Cloak and Dagger. I think you could make a lot of Cloak or Dagger's abilities offensive. If you wanted to try something like that, I think like the Nightmare Cape or whatever it's called that Cloak throws out could be something really cool to scale as well and clear zombies out. And also just the pathing of, maybe you choose which character you want to invest your stuff in. Are you upgrading Cloak, or are you upgrading Dagger in your upgrade path? So that is my number four.
Number four for me, I like the idea of Cloak and Dagger's ult a lot too. And it's got a lot going for me there. Just
Mm,
amplifying its ability to heal and damage,
yeah.
especially in a horde mode like that for sure. For me, four, I'm gonna go Hulk. Um, He's got some shield potential. He can get in and out, kind of bounce around to where he's needed. If everybody's not in the same space, he can, in a tight moment, he can pop that shield bubble and protect. So, and plus two, I would love to see a zombie Hulk skin. I think that's something that is sorely missing right now. Like that's a huge opportunity. And so, um, yeah, that's something I want. Something I want. Something I like.
Mm. For my number five, I think I'm gonna go Emma.
Hmm.
I think you could do some interesting things with her shield ability, where maybe she pushes it out and it has some sort of like space giving effect where it'll push the zombies in its path back. I think you could also do something really cool with her choke slam ability, giving it some sort of like AoE effect for the people who are around the slam, for the zombies that are around the slam, or some sort of like knock up like Thor gets with his ult. Uh, so and then, just diamond form giving you a little bit of that extra kind of sustain to mitigate damage. I think she could be really cool. Who is your final pick, Seth?
I'm like deciding on five as we speak. I'm struggling with five. I think I'm just gonna go Invis, purely on her ult and her bubble, right? To kind of be the ability to do damage, the ability to kind of push or yoink as needed, with that power, and then that ult again can be a game changer in any mode that you're playing. Really, if you're in a clutch moment or like kind of like trying to turn the tide in a fight. So I think that her ult would fit well in this mode as well.
For sure. Um, well, let us know who you want to see added in the next round of Marvel Zombies. I imagine this has to come back. It's been insanely popular. Insanely popular.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want to see it back. I want to see it evolve a little bit as we go.
Yeah. And I think it
I
will.
don't know that I want it around like nonstop though. I don't think that it should necessarily be a permanent mode, but I could be wrong. If it's changing frequently or regularly, then maybe.
Yeah. I'm fine with it coming back every Halloween or, every 6 months or something like that. Every new season of Marvel Zombies, if they're going to be doing additional seasons of that show, something like that. All right, well, let's jump into the news, and I'm going to caveat this, guys. I normally like share my screen and show you guys what we're talking about and that sort of stuff. If you're watching the video version of that, either mine or Seth's or both of our internet right now has been completely fucked this whole episode. So I'm not going to I'm not going to use up any of my computer resources by clicking these links and playing videos and stuff. So we're just going to talk about stuff, and we'll put links in the show notes. But we got 3 new skins that are dropping this week. We've got the Spider-Man Man Spider skin, the Scarlet Witch Queen of the Dead skin, and then the Iron Man Big Shot skin. What do you think about this round of skins?
Oh, I mean they're fine. They're mid. The Spider-Man skin I think is the most intriguing to me just because it's the most different right now. Did you say I don't have the show notes pulled up anymore where we reset the internet a second ago, but was it Zombie Witch that's coming out as
Yeah,
well?
yeah, it's her.
Yeah.
It's what she's got in Marvel Zombies coming as a playable
And
skin.
and and she's fine. Like, I expressed it last week too. I like it's the aesthetic for Marvel Zombies, the show is fine. It's pretty cool, but I do wish that they maybe leaned a little bit more for some zombie skins from like the comic aesthetic. I mean, it's just so raw and gross in a lot of ways that maybe I mean the show did a pretty good job of like leaning to that mature audience. I think that maybe these skins will be a little bit too scary or something. I don't know, but there were just so many cool, visceral images in those original zombies comics that I would love to see more of that. This is cool. I'm gonna take it for what it's worth. Any zombie stuff I think is cool. If I played Witch more, I would probably go for this because I think it's one of her more unique skins compared to yeah, she's wearing red, but at least her skin is green, and she's got that or gray, whatever it is, blue. That's what she's got going for her.
Yeah, I'm not moved by this, and it's not just because I don't really play any of these characters, but they put Iron Man in a suit. They just ripped Scarlet Witch's skin from the game mode and put it into the game. I'm with you. The Man Spider skin, I think, is probably the most unique. It adds the extra arms to him, when he's ulting and stuff like that. There's like some cool elements to that skin, but overall, I just have been kind of underwhelmed by what they've done with October. I thought that they were gonna, go all out with the skins, but I just was, we talked about the Jeff skin last week and how it gives you kind of some of those nostalgia vibes. You've got the Penny skin and the event that's going on right now, but I just don't think they really hit a home run with any of the Halloween skins so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. I've definitely been underwhelmed, but I also wasn't like looking forward to like the seasonal skins. I could kind of take them or leave them. Um, they're fine, but I don't necessarily like just anticipate them with bated breaths.
Yeah. And then next item on the list comes from videogamer.com. And this was reported other places as well. I don't know why I picked this link necessarily, but the Marvel Zombies mode has done wonders for the Rivals player count. It says releasing a PvE mode in Marvel Rivals has turned out to be a fantastic move as it has positively affected the player count. The player base has been shrinking for more than 9 months as the game has found its footing. Now it's going back up with peaks of at least 100,000 concurrent players on Steam every day since the Marvel Zombies mode has come out. The hero shooter player count has seen an increase of more than 50%. With more PvE modes coming to Marvel Rivals in the future, the community has a lot to look forward to. So Seth, the original peak was back in January, obviously 642,000 concurrent players on Steam, slowly dwindling, peaked at around, 75 to 82,000 right during the season before this mode came out. Now we're back over 100,000. What do you think is so attractive about a mode like Marvel Zombies to get people back into the game? And is this something that's sustainable? Like, can you keep
Um,
this audience?
yeah, I don't know that being that sustainable is ever really like unless you're Fortnite, and doing a million things at once. I think that that's part of it. You do want to kind of keep changing things up or adding to your game, and Fortnite is the master at that. They've kind of like just blazed trails in a lot of ways, adding racing modes and adding festivals and stuff like that. I don't know if that's doable necessarily for rivals. I'm sure there's some creative solutions to be had, but yeah, um I, I think that the audience is regainable if not consistently sustainable. I do think there are going to be lulls in a game like this, and then there are going to be resurgences, and this is probably the first of many if I had to guess. I think it's a positive thing, if nothing else, because it shows that the audience is there and they're waiting for more. They want more. They want to get back into this game, um, and doing stuff like this, kind of offering alternative modes, is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and obviously it's good for the game, right? Anything that increases your player base is going to be good for the game, unless it's like some big scandal that brought people back because they wanted to see, you know, something broken in the game for themselves. I don't know. Like, there's very few reasons why an increase in player base wouldn't be a good thing, and it's obviously tied to this PVE mode. And I think, but the key to sustainability and the key to kind of retaining those sorts of players is like, if we bring them back with a unique mode, are there improvements that we've made to the base game that get them to stick around, right? I don't think there's enough replayability with Marvel Zombies and to keep people back for the long term, but there's certainly replay value in quick play and competitive and the main modes of the game. So I'm curious to see how long it's been since these players returning to zombies. How long has it been since they last played Marvel Rivals? Are we talking people who kind of churned out a month ago, people who churned out back in March, people who churned out after a week in January coming back to the game? Because I think that makes a big difference, right? This game is markedly improved from where it was, you know, end of spring, beginning of summer. Uh, but if you want to retain these new players, you've got to make improvements across your ecosystem. You're not going to be able to just sustain that growth off of a unlimited time PVE mode.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I do think, yeah, I don't imagine myself playing zombies past, whatever. I would like to at least get one of like the player card tags, something to like a label for a reward. We need that Nightmare 2 at the least for that. And so if I get that, I'm gonna be pretty content. I might feel compelled to push a little bit farther past that or try to get through Nightmare 3 or whatever. But yeah, it's not gonna keep me coming back all the time unless it changes drastically. And so, yeah, again, I'm optimistic, but it's still early in this game's life for
Mhm.
sure.
I think it'll also be interesting to see how they bring some of the stuff they're experimenting with in zombies over to the main modes, right? We talked about this a little bit last week, where you're playing around with these new abilities for Jeff or for Thor, whoever you have in the game. Like, are these things going to be introduced as team ups or as like reworked abilities for the characters in the main mode? Like, does this become a fun playground for the developers to mess around with their ideas and kind of hone them? And I think that's one way you can maybe start to move that audience back over to, quick play and competitive, is if you say, hey, this cool thing that we added here also available there, like the dash move from for Jeff was one thing we were talking about, right? Where you like damage people when you dash through them. Like, that could be a cool thing to give Jeff's kit sometime in the future. A cool team up to give him with somebody in the future. But you got to get creative with these kinds of modes. You can't just rely on like a brief spike in concurrent player to carry over. You have to be intentional about how you cross pollinate.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Seth. It's kind of light on the news this week, and that's because we're probably about to get bombarded with fucking season 5 news because we're almost to the end of season 4, which is absolutely insane to think about. So, we're going to move on to our topic of the day, and let's just talk about what we want to see in season 5. This can be anything from, you know, buffs and nerfs that we want to see, maps that we want to see, changes to systems that we want to see, what we want to see from Rogue and Gambit, who are apparently going to be our characters for next season. So, us just kind of spitballing ideas about season 5 here, Seth. What do you want to see in the next 2 months of Rivals?
So I feel like I'm terrible at this, but there are two things that I can think of off the dome that I really do want. I've said one of them before. It is that little button that lets you keep rolling with a team when you're playing matches, whether they're quick play or competitive. Ideally competitive. Again, I know that I'm going to hit GM consistently if I don't have to just get totally put with a random lobby every time. I know that's part of the challenge. It seems like that's kind of the way that NetEase wants the competitive grind to go in a lot of ways. Now that they don't let you consistently, like you can't team up with a 6 stack and roll competitive, or even like a 4 stack once you get past, or a 3 stack once you get past, plat or maybe into diamond or whatever. I forget the restrictions, but they're there. You can tell I haven't been to diamond in a little while, but whatever. um, so yeah, it is what it is. I would like to kind of have that. I think there's maybe a difference in rolling a 6 stack with some randoms that you like in a competitive mode versus a team that you're used to working with and communicating with in chat and that kind of thing. I agree that maybe those kinds of teams belong in tournaments, or like in Ignite or whatever. But I as far as just rolling regular comp matches go, I would love to see that. My thing number two is gonna be, I need you to go because I just forgot number two. I'm tired over here.
No, no, you're good. I want to see that button too. Don't you feel like though we've been seeing a lot of people in back-to-back ranked games when we're queuing at night, especially in ranked, where we'll be
We
like, "Oh shit,
we
it's that
have,
same."
yeah, and even in quick player, like we played a zombies round with somebody who was playing Thor, and they were just like learning the mode. This is when we were like early on, maybe like the first or second difficulty level, and Larry recognized the name. He was like, "Hey, that's that Thor." We had like left and gone to quick play, and the Thor, I guess, had done the same thing, and we ended up right there in the same quick play lobby. It was kind of nuts.
Yeah, kind of makes you wonder about what the player base is like right now on the
Got him, got him. Ah!
game. Because I mean, because it's wild. I mean, we'll queue up for a couple games in a row in competitive, and there's normally a player or two on one of the teams from one of the other teams, vice versa from previous matches. So yeah, I'd love that button though to queue up. Um, I think I'm really just interested in what adding yet another DPS to the game and Gambit is gonna look like. I think that there's uh we've kind of talked ad nauseum about the imbalance in the number of characters. So I'm interested to see what the addition of Gambit is going to be, considering he's a beloved character as well, right? So I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in playing him. But I really want to see some of the stuff we were kind of speculating on about Rogue being a strategist, right? And how
Mhm.
um, hopefully we kind of get a true healer added to the strategist role, because we haven't had one of those since the Invisible Woman edition back in the spring. So, really want to see Rogue come in and have a lot of good healing capabilities and maybe be able to brawl in a way that complements and counters Daredevil.
Yeah, I'd be totally down with that too. I'm looking forward to that and hopefully seeing exactly that come to fruition. My second and probably last thing for me that I can think of at least is, I could be wrong in this. I know it still does play a part in day-to-day gameplay, but I feel like team ups have kind of lost their luster in a lot of ways. I don't think we've quite found um, that same like just vibe that we had in season one or maybe season two even, where there were so many kind of like just crucial viable team ups. And I know I used to spend a lot of time trying to make some of those team ups happen. And I think that some of those, like in order to kind of try to balance things out, they've kind of nerfed a lot of those team ups by either like changing them out for weaker, less viable team ups. Like, who uses that Captain America Bucky team up?
Yeah.
If we're being honest, like I hit the button every once in a while when I'm playing Cap, just to see if we can make it happen, or if I think maybe I'm trying to triangulate in my mind and figure out, is that person going to come between Bucky and me, and are we going to be able to hit the button at the same time to get there and smack dab them in the middle. So stuff like that. The Venom team up with Jeff. I mean, like it's got its usability, but I don't think that it's really like a game changer in any way. I haven't said it in a while because it's been a while, but I still straight up miss that Mag team up with Wanda.
Hmm.
When you got the giant sword and you could just shoot those sword streams into an enemy team, just kind of coming straight at you. Um, I know that this might be a hot take, but I kind of miss the idea of like the Hulk Namor team up, where you gamma charged his Morpho Spawn, or Iron Man when you gamma charged his Unibeam. I think there's more that you can do with maybe other characters in that same vein. Maybe not necessarily as cracked as that, but I do want those team ups to feel at least a little cracked. Like there needs to be some more incentive to use them, because I found myself, I don't know if I speak for the group or not, but I don't really consider them as much now as I used to. Like if I'm deciding that I'm going to go strategist and I see a penny, there's some pretty good incentive to use that rocket team up for sure. But again, I feel like those crucial team ups are pretty few and far between now compared to how they were.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I I don't really think about my team ups at all. Like a lot of the team ups that I play just kind of naturally happen because a lot of the characters are meta, where it's like I'll be playing Thing and somebody's playing Invis, and it's nice to have that little extra thing. But I don't really feel nerfed in any way not having it, or I'm playing Cloak and Dagger and somebody else's Blade or Moon Knight or something like that. Like they just kind of happen. They're not being intentionally sought after. But I get the challenge on NetEase's part, right? Because it's like you want team ups to feel game changing and impact, not necessarily game changing, but impactful to the characters that you're playing. But you don't want them so powerful that people get pissy if you're not playing the team up that they want to play because they've locked in their character. And I think we saw that some with like Namor Hulk, right? Where somebody would lock in Namor and like get pissed if you weren't going to play Hulk to give him his gamma charge spawn. Uh, I think there's a couple of things I'd like to see with team ups, and we mentioned the first one a couple weeks ago, where it's like I wish we would see more kind of tank team up, strategist team up, just to encourage more players to play roles that aren't DPS. But the second thing, and I don't think we've talked about this, is get rid of the anchor system. I don't like this idea that it's like one person gets a like stat buff and the other person gets a cool different ability, or like some cool interesting buff to one of their abilities. And I think about like I play a lot of Emma, right? And so then you get like the mag team up, which feels good because it's a two tank thing. But as Emma, I just get like some extra base health, but Mag gets this cool like duplicate clone thing that he gets to go into. Like give both characters in the team up an ability when they activate the team up, and get rid of the like stat boost thing. I don't know how important that is to the balance of the game. And I know it would add a lot of design challenge probably to have team ups that give everybody different abilities. But I think that's one way to make it feel more impactful, is like, don't screw half the people in the team up by just being like, you do 5% extra damage.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that it does have some merit and some value, but I do feel that they've been doing that kind of more consistently as time has gone on. And I don't like, yeah, more can be better, but I think that we need more paired with more variety too. Like not necessarily just more anchor systems, more anchor team ups, but those, if you're going to do more of those, add some more kind of other elements too. Or maybe like somebody else can be the anchor and Emma has some kind of extra along with that too. So I don't know. I would like to kind of see some ebb and flow with that kind of system.
Uh, the one of the other things I want to see, and I'm really interested in your thoughts on this, Seth, is piss or get off the pot with resource rumble. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Where is that mode? Like
yeah,
it keeps popping up in quick play. Nobody ever seems happy about it. And we haven't gotten more of it like we said, like we heard that we were going to. So what's the deal?
yeah, we got this whole talk of like we're testing this out in quick play and before we add it to competitive to make sure it's balanced and all that sort of stuff. Now to where like I don't feel like anyone on the Netty side has really talked about this mode at all, and I think it's because they understand that the team, that the player base just isn't that big of a fan of it. And so I want to know what they're doing with Resource Rumble. Like, is this going to be another arcade mode that you put in there and like allow people to just queue in for that? Are you going to add more maps to it? Are you going to take it offline for a little bit to try to rework it? I think it's an interesting concept. It just needs some things tweaked about it to make it feel a little better to play. And I think it also just needs more variety in terms of the map. But right now, it just feels kind of like this thing that everybody, like you said, everybody who plays it is kind of unhappy about playing it, but it's still there and we don't know what's happening with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I think I read somewhere where like the theme of the battle pass is going to be like love oriented because of the Gambit and Rogue kind of deal. So I don't know what that looks like. Do you think we're going to get another X-Men map? I know we're always talking about X-Men maps on this
I'm
show.
gonna keep the dream alive. Like I love the idea of getting an X Mansion
Yes, me too.
map, or having, even if it's not like a tour through the mansion, like convoy or something like that. Maybe doing Dom in the danger room, or
Hmm.
something along those lines. I think shit. Like, why don't we do Resource Rumble
Yes.
and have the best of both worlds? Like, part of it's taking place in like the lobby of the mansion. You kind of find your way down into the basement, and where Cerebro is and some of that stuff, the hallways and aisles and corridors. And then maybe point C is the danger room, or maybe you reverse it and you're working your way up to that iconic lobby or something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of potential there. We could spitball ideas all day with that kind of stuff. But if you're gonna have an X-Men centric season with the new character drops, I do think that you need to do something like that. And the difference with this is, I feel like this is kind of the opposite argument that we made with the whole symbiote and Phoenix. But there's a big difference in like the just the visual imagery that you have with something like an X-Men season. Like, it's not going to be all black and brown and red and orange or whatever. You're going to have, like a whole different aesthetic when you're in that dimension versus when you're down in like the X-Men levels, when you're down in the basement or whatever. And there are all kinds of other settings you can have too, right? Like, you can I don't know. I mean, the list could go on and on, but I think X-Men's a big enough universe in and of itself that there's so much you can do. We could go to what's the place with the stuff? I mean, we could go Madripoor. We could go what's the place? You might not know.
Probably
I feel
not.
like you watch the animated series enough to know. Kazar and all of them. The place where there are dinosaurs and stuff like that.
I know what you're talking about. I have no idea what it's called though.
I'm drawing a blank on it, but like the jungle-y kind of wilderness place. I mean, the X-Men can go anywhere and do anything. Like, there's just so much to pull from. So yeah, I would love to see some of that stuff explored, but definitely my number one pick is X Mansion.
Yeah, you were talking about Resource Rumble, and I have no idea if this is going to make any sense, but it's like, what if it's an evolving danger room and it's not that point A is here, point B is here, and point C is
Mm.
here, but that the room itself is changing and point A plays like this and then it slowly evolves into point B, changing the layout of the map, and then slowly evolves into point C, changing the layout of the map. That could be a cool way to do Resource Rumble, I think.
Please clock it. It has been clocked.
My wife today was like, what does clock it mean? Because somebody like messaged her because the kids were saying it on the bus at her school.
Mhm.
I was like, I have no idea. So, um,
I take it to me I mean, it's one of those things, like, we as older people, we're never gonna quite understand. I can kinda tell you what 6, 7 means, but I don't think anybody can really tell you, like, the definition of 6, 7. I've been trying to kill it at my school just by overusing it and
mhm.
implementing it in lesson plans, but, clock it I think it's just you're checking that you're acknowledging the time. It's like, "Hey, this happened at this point in time. Let's all acknowledge it and note it for sure," or something like that.
Mhm.
And I feel like there are different iterations you can kinda use it for that go along with that, but that's my interpretation being amongst the people out there in the wilderness.
Yeah. Uh, all right. Any of your cast of characters you play you want to see getting a little love in the balance patch?
No, I mean, I'm pretty happy across the board with who I've been, playing again. I'm just kinda more interested in what they've got to offer as far as team ups go in the next patches, but yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, I want to see. I just want to see more strategists brought back. I think we nerfed Loki into the ground. We nerfed Ultron into the ground. I think that's a problem with this game, right? Is I don't think they understand their targeted nerfs that well. It's like, hey, we hate triple support and want Ultron to be a better healer, and they're like, what if we just eliminated all of his healing capabilities? And then they they murdered our boy Loki to the point where he's not really viable just because they wanted to be able to uh kind of eliminate the two Luna ult thing. Like I hope there's some thoughtful changes on the strategist side of things in the next update. But other than that, I feel pretty happy with where things are from a balance perspective. And I don't think that they understand the issue with triple support enough to really kind of target ban it or target nerf it with balance patch changes
Yeah, I agree 100%. But well, I mean, we'll get there. Again, I don't think it's necessarily an issue that has to be just straight up addressed, but kind of something that will kind of either phase out or whatever over time.
for sure. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Next time you see us, we will have watched the grand finalists at Marvel Rivals Ignite. Hoist the trophy at DreamHack and give you our full thoughts on what's going on there. Hopefully, this is the thing that really gets me into Rivals esports. I don't feel like I've been quite as into it as I have been into other esports in the past. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. Is just kind of getting some
I think
excitement.
it's overall it's and I need to get off here. I told a kid I was going to play some comp with them here in a little bit. And you're welcome to join too if you can stomach playing with a student. But I I don't know. I feel like it's a marketability thing. Like, how long has this DreamHack Atlanta plan been in the works? Like, I feel like I just saw it pop up no more than 3 days ago, or whenever I had mentioned it to you in the chat. Like, I feel like that's the kind of thing that should be popping up on feeds for months in advance, or at least weeks, or something like that, right? Um, I kind of had an idea that Atlanta had a DreamHack festival. I think they've done it there before, if I'm not mistaken. It seems like a thing I've heard about, maybe?
Oh yeah, DreamHack Atlanta is like a thing every
Okay,
year.
that's what I
Yeah.
thought, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that I feel like I should have seen a lot before, and that's my problem I've voiced to you before on this very show is, um, whether it was like Fight Night, which I feel like does that exist anymore?
No, I haven't seen it lately, at least.
Yeah, yeah. So, same kind of thing, like with Fight Night or with this or whatever the first iteration of competitive rivals was or pro rivals. Like, I just like you don't hear about it. You see that little box on the menu as you boot up the game, but if you're not like, you're probably not logging into the game just to watch competitive. You
Yeah.
can watch it. I don't know if you knew, like just by clicking on that
Yeah.
option in the menu, but yeah, I don't know. I think that they just need more They need more. They need more marketing. They need you, Lucas.
Yeah, they definitely need a lot more marketing for the product. I think you're right there. I think the like in-game integration is a good step that I think a lot of games fail to even do that part. I mean, it does suck on
Sure.
console because you're opening up that browser. On PC, it works a lot better, right? You click the thing, it opens up your actual browser, and you can watch it. So,
Hmm.
I do think it'd be cool to have like an in-client viewing experience that doesn't like bring out a browser, like allow some sort of spectating of it or whatever. I think there's some cool things that you could do, but for sure, I think they could do a much better job of like promoting these events coming up, tying in, some of the in-game events that they're doing, or even like, and they might be doing this right, like whoever wins Ignite this year gets like a skin made for them in the game, like something to promote the esport inside of the game. I think could be really helpful. So but no, I'm excited about this weekend. I'm excited to get my thoughts on this weekend when we come back to the show next week. But that is going to do it for us. Seth, what are you going to get up to in game this week?
I'm gonna make one last final push to try to get through plat to diamond. We reached plat last week, and then kind of just sank back down almost immediately. Or I did. I don't think you quite got
Yeah,
to
I'm in
plat,
like
did you?
gold 2 right now.
Gotcha. So I've been back kind of stuck mid gold one. Just by I feel like it's always by no fault of my own, but I do play kind of crappy matches from time to time.
I do want to do a little bit more of a push through gold at least. Maybe get to plat before the season's up, and then yeah, beat Nightmare 2 at least in zombies mode. So that's my goal. But all right, guys, we're
Sick.
gonna wrap it up and get out of here before one of our internet's modem explodes or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but leave us a comment about what you want to see in season 5, who you want to see added to Marvel Zombies. Anything that we talked about this episode. Feel free to leave your reactions in the comments below. Wherever you're watching us, we appreciate you greatly. Make sure you are following, that you like, and you comment. And until next week, we love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you in Atlanta.